Morning all. Today I am continuing the previous topic. So there are remaining two types of conflicts are there. So first one is intergroup conflict. So intergroup conflict means an organization is an interlocking network of groups, departments, sections, or work teams. Okay, so a organization is nothing but intergroup conflict. So interlocking network of groups. Okay, so there is a network in between the groups and the departments and also sections. Okay, so our work or teams. There is a interlocking network of groups, departments, sections, or work teams. Okay, so the intergroup conflicts are not so much personal in nature as they are due to factors inherent in the organizational structure. Okay, so the intergroup conflicts are not so much personal in nature. So the conflicts in between the group people are not in personal. Okay, so as they are due to factors inherent in the organizational structure. These are all the reason behind that is there are some inherent factors are affecting the organizational structure, then the interpersonal conflicts intergroup conflicts are arise. Okay, so there is a conflicts in between the groups. Okay, then for example there is active and continuous conflict between the union and the management. Okay, so there is a conflict in between the trade unions or labor unions and also in management. Okay, so this is one example. Then one of the most common conflict is between the line and the staff members of the organization. Okay, so and one of the most common conflict is between the line and the staff members. Okay, so the line and staff, because in every organization there is a staff members and also there is a line staff. That means line employees and staff employees. Okay, so both are there. So line employees and staff employees both are there. So line employees means they are general. Suppose they are aligned in the vertical, they are having the same roles, and staff are horizontal. Okay, so the staff members are supporting to the line employees. Okay, line employees. So the line managers may resent their dependence on staff for information and recommendations. Okay, so the line managers may resent their dependence on staff for information and recommendations. So the staff members are giving, the staff employees are giving suggestions to the line managers and they are giving assistance to the line managers. The staff may resent their inability to implement directly their own decisions and recommendations. Okay, so the staff may resent their inability to implement directly their own decisions. The staff members are they are directly implementing their own decisions and recommendations also. And these interdependence causes intergroup conflict. So there is a conflict in between the staff employees and the line employees. Okay, so because the staff members are having some specialized knowledge in their particular domain, and the line managers are having the general duties and responsibilities regarding the management. That's why these staff people are feeling they are having much more knowledge rather than line employees. Then the conflict in between the staff members and line members. Okay, there. Then these intergroup conflicts can also be caused by inconsistent rewards and differing performance criteria for different units and groups. Okay, so these the inter-unit conflicts can also be caused by inconsistent rewards and differing performance criteria for different units and groups. This is also caused some inconsistency in between performances and also different units of the groups. So, for example, salespeople who depend upon their commission as a reward for their efforts may promise their customers certain quantity of the product and delivery times which the production department may find impossible to meet, thus causing conflict between the two units. Okay, so sales people who depend upon their commission. So because the sales people are always depending upon their commission as a reward for their efforts, may promise their customers certain quantity of the product and delivery times which the production department may find impossible to meet, thus causing conflict between the two units. Okay, so the main department is production department. Okay, so why I'm saying the production department is very important. So because without production department we are unable to produce anything. Okay, so if there is a product, there only there is a need of the marketing people. Otherwise, there is no need of the marketing people. That's why the basic department in the organization is the production department. So the production department is giving the qualitative products. Then only the marketing people are putting their efforts to sell that products. Okay, so that's why it is very important thing, the production department. Okay, so and also the marketing people are also very important because we are producing the product. So, but there is no chance to sell our products in the market. So then there is a need of the marketing people. So both marketing people and production people are communicating each other and coordinating each other. Then only the organization will be successful and also business is successful. Okay, that's why there is a coordination between the sales department and also production department. Okay. Suppose if there are any egoistic problems arising in between the marketing department and also production department, then ultimately it leads to a conflicts in between the two departments. Then another classic example of internet conflict is between sales and production is desired earlier. Okay. So the sales department is typically customer oriented and wants to maintain high inventories for filling orders as they are received, which is costly option as against the production department, which is strongly concerned about cost effectiveness, requiring as little inventory of finished product at hand as possible. Okay, so what is the brief meaning of this total sentence is, suppose there is an inter-unit conflict in between the sales and the production department earlier. Already we are discussing earlier. So the sales department is typically customer oriented. So the sales department is mainly focusing on the customer because the customer is the god. Okay, and wants to maintain high inventories, and also they wants to maintain high inventories for filling orders as they are received, because the sales department is taking more orders, more and more orders from the customers or the dealers. Then the production department is giving support. That means the production department also giving the products according to the schedule. Okay, so based on the sales department requirement, so suppose the sales department is expecting 10,000 units, then the production department is ready to provide and also ready to manufacture that 10,000 units. Then only the sales team put their efforts and sell that products. Okay, otherwise they are suppose the marketing department is not able to deliver the products based on the customer requirement, okay, or the delivery schedule. Okay, this is the internal conflict. Suppose this is a conflict. Suppose there the production department is not cooperative to the marketing department, then there is a chance to arise a conflict in between the two departments. Okay, similarly intergroup conflict may arise between day shift workers and night shift workers, who might blame each other for anything that goes wrong, from missing tools to maintenance problems. So another example is every organization there is a night shift and also day shift. So day shift, some of the people are some of the workers are working day shift, and also some of the workers are working in the night shift. So then the problem in between these two people, these two groups are, suppose there is a missing tools. Okay, so in night shift, then they blame day shift people, and suppose in day shift the tools are missing, then they are putting suppose they are arising problem, and that is the fault of the night shift people. So these are the problems in between the day shift people and the night shift people. There is a chance to arising a conflict in between the day shift people and the night shift people. Then next fifth one is the inter-organizational conflict. That is also another type of conflict. That is conflict also occurs between organizations which are dependent upon each other in some way. Okay, so conflict also occurs between organizations. So in some cases, the conflicts also arising in between the organizations. Then this conflict may be between buyer organizations and supplier organizations about quantity. Okay, so generally these conflicts may arise in between the supplier uh, organizations and supplier organizations. Suppose the raw materials are supplied by the some of the organizations. Suppose they are also organizations. So there is a conflict in between the supplier and between the organization about quantity. Suppose we are quantity and quality and delivery items of delivery times of raw materials and also other policy issues. Suppose we are giving some quantity order about, suppose we are giving some 1,000 kilos of raw material and also good quality raw material, and also we are particularly mentioning the delivery time also, but the supplier is not sending the quality material, uh, not sending the quality material, and also not suppose quantity also and also delivery times. Okay, so he completely deviate the delivery time and also quality and also quantity. Then there is a chance to arise an conflict in between the supplier organization and also buyer organization. Okay, such conflict could also be between unions and organizations employing their members, between government agencies that regulate certain organizations and the organizations that are affected by them. So, and another thing is, there is a conflict in between the unions and the organizations employing their members. Okay, between government agencies that regulate certain organizations and the organizations that are affected by them. Okay, so these are the types of conflicts. Okay, so next one is uh, strategies for managing conflicts. So how we are managing the conflicts in between the people and in between the groups and in between the organizations. Okay, so then we are giving some of the strategies to resolve the conflicts in the organizations. Okay, so different people use different methods to resolve conflicts, and most people have one or more natural preferred conflict resolution strategies that they use regularly. Okay, so different people are using different types of methods to resolve the conflicts. Okay, so because their own perception, everybody has their own perception, their own style to resolve the problems. Okay, so it is possible to scientifically measure an individual's inclinations towards specific conflict resolution strategies. Okay, so suppose it is possible to scientifically measure. Suppose you have to measure measure why the conflict is arisen, and also why the conflict is arisen, and also what are the reasons behind that. So you have to analyze all these things in a scientific manner. Okay, so we will discuss the 5 different categories of conflict resolutions from the Thomas Kilmann model, as well as their advantages and disadvantages. Okay, so the scientist, the psychological scientist, he gives some theory. Thomas Kilmann, the scientist name is Thomas Kilmann. He gives some model to resolve the conflicts in between the conflicts arising in the organization. So this is have some advantages and also disadvantages. Now we are discussing only the models. What are the 5 models? Okay, 5 categories. Then the Thomas Kilmann model is, the Thomas Kilmann model identifies 5 different approaches to resolving conflict. What are that? First one is the competitive style. Competitive style, that is win loss. Okay, so competitive style, that is win or loss. Okay, either you are win or loss. So a desire to advance one's own concerns at the expense of the other party and to dominate. So what is the desire? To advance one's own concerns at the expense of the other party and to dominate. So suppose we are always try to give competition, okay, and compete with others, and also advance one's own concerns. Everybody has own concern at the expense of the other party and to dominate. We are always try to dominate to another person. Okay, people with this style often resort to blaming or seeking a scapegoat rather than assuming responsibility. So this type of people are having the nature, they are blaming others. Okay, so suppose I am correct and Suppose if there is a positive thing and also we are getting a positive result, so that is the positive result is coming because of me. Okay, suppose if you are getting a negative result, so you have to blame others and you have to you are not taking the responsibility of the negative result. So you are only taking the responsibility of the positive result. So you are not taking the responsibility of the negative results. Okay, so you have to you are blaming others. Okay, so people with this style will also resort to threats. These people are caused to threats also. Okay, so this is one of the style, that is the competitive style. Either you have to win or loss in this model. Then second model is collaboration model, that is win-win solution. So desire to make both people happy. So in that particular model, both suppose we are focusing on how we are satisfying all the people and also how to manage the people both are happy. Okay, so people who have this style are other oriented and view conflict as a set of problems to be solved. Okay, so the people are having which type of leadership, suppose they are using this type of strategy, they are using this type of style, then ultimately they are resolving the issues because everybody is happy with the solution, then ultimately all are accepting the solution. Okay, so then the problem will be resolved. Then collaboration is best used when those involved in the conflict need new fresh ideas and perhaps a different direction. Okay, so then the collaboration is best used when those involved in the conflict need new and fresh ideas and perhaps a different direction. Okay, so they try to resolve the conflicts in a new way and also they come with the fresh ideas and new ideas. Then ultimately they are resolving the conflict. Okay, then next one is the compromise, that is half win half loss. Then this is the third model. This is in general we are following this model, that means compromise. Then you have to compromise the both the parties and coming into a solution for the problem. Then everybody, suppose there is a half 50% loss and also 50% win. So there is no loss and there is no win. So that is mediatory thing. That means 50% win and 50% loss. Okay, so first model there is a win or loss, and second model there is a win-win solution because both are happy and both are satisfied. Then third model is half percent win and half percent loss. Then there is no complete loss and there is no complete win. Artists meet somewhere in the middle. People who use this style find a solution that meet the so people when people compromise, then they don't get exactly the what they want. Suppose if you are compromising for anything, then you are not getting the exactly what you want. Okay, so each person gives up a bit of what he she wants. Compromise can bring about quick solutions and reinforces equality. So then compromises is always best solution because both are there is no loss and there is no profit. Suppose that means there is no win and there is no loss. Then we are getting a quick solutions for any type of problems. Okay, this is the third one. And fourth one is accommodate. So there is a loss or win. That means first you have to loss and second priority is the win. Then desire to satisfy the others' concerns over one's own concerns. Okay, so there is a desire to satisfy the others. Okay, so then concerns over one's own concerns. Then therefore people with this style will give into the demand of others to avoid conflict. Then you are demanding the others. There is no chance to arise any rejection or conflict or disruption. Typically people with this management style like to people please. Okay, then they requesting others. Okay, so please don't make any conflicts or please don't any make rejections or please don't make any disruptions. Then accommodate, they are accommodate what are the requirements of the employees. Then there is no chance to, they are requesting the employees, so we are getting we are giving all the facilities and we are accommodating all the things. Please don't make any conflicts or rejections or any disruptions. Okay, this is the fourth strategy. So then avoidant. So the fifth strategy is the avoidant. So avoidant is party is indifferent to everyone's concerns, including his or her own. So the party, suppose the suppose in the suppose if you are taking the any type of the conflict, then there are the two parties. Okay, so in between the parties, suppose party 1, party 2. Okay, so then the conflict in between the party 1 and the party 2, then we are avoiding the conflict. Then the parties are cooperative, the two parties are cooperative, then only we are uh, resolve the conflicts. Okay, suppose the perception is different, the party perception is different, then we are not able to resolve the issue. Avoidance is a healthy or unhealthy response to conflict depending on its severity. Okay, so avoidance is a healthy or unhealthy response, so to conflict depending on its severity. So depending upon the severity of the conflict, then there is a chance to avoid the conflicts, whether it is a healthy or a unhealthy response. So rising above trivial bickering is wise, whereas ignoring a serious conflict that threatens to pollute the work atmosphere and hinder productivity just contributes to the toxicity. So it is not a correct solution. So avoidance. So in general, there is a conflict in between the, suppose in general, the conflicts are arisen in the organization. So we are able to, only we have the solution is we try to resolve the issues, and also we have to try to solve the issues in between the employees and the in between the groups and the in between the organizations as early as possible. That is the only possible solution, and that is the only good solution to resolve the conflicts. Okay, so these are the 5 strategies to resolve the conflicts. Okay, then next topic is organizational culture. So organizational culture, another topic is organizational culture. So first topic is over. So what is the first topic? Organizational conflicts. Okay, so then next one is the culture is the pivot of any group or society. So culture is nothing but it is a it is nothing but a habit. Okay, so you are following in our regular life. Culture is also as part of our life. So because everybody has every religion and every caste has their own culture. Okay, so it determines the way so it determines the way members interact with one another and with outsiders. Okay, so how we are interacting with the how to interact with the another and outsiders. Okay, so how the interacting. So depending upon your culture, then you have to interact with others. Okay, so how we are talking with others, and how we are handling with others, and how we are maintaining relationship with others, then it is completely purely depending upon your culture. Okay, so what type of culture you have to follow, all the things are depending upon this. Okay, so way of talking also. Then Stoner, Freeman and Gilbert have described culture as the complex mixture of assumptions, behaviors, stories, myths, metaphors and other ideas that fit together to define what it means to be a member of a particular society. So according to the Freeman and Gilbert and Stoner, they are giving a some decision, they are describing the culture as a mixture of assumptions and behaviors and stories and myths, and they are all come together, and you are also a part of the society, you are also a member of a particular society. So these are all mixing together, then it develops a culture for that particular society or particular religion. However, scope of this chapter is limited to the study of culture within the organization. So this is also the same thing will be reflected in the organization also. So that means the working style and the behavior of the organization, that means behavior of the organization means the total employees in the organization's behavior is nothing but the behavior of the organization. Then The organization culture is completely purely depending upon the behavior of the employees, attitude of the employees, myths of the employees, and beliefs of the employees. Okay. So then when an organization takes on a life of its own, apart from any of its members, and requires immorality, the organization is said to be institutionalized. Okay. So when an organization takes on a life of its own, okay, so apart from any of its members, suppose the organization is not considering any about, suppose not considering anything about its members, they are only considering about the organization, then acquires immortality, then ultimately it acquires immortality. The organization is said to be institutionalized because the organization is only focusing on their own things. It is purely institutionalized. Okay. So when an organization takes an institutional premises, acceptable modes of behavior become largely self-evident to its members. So then suppose the organization is institutionalized, then ultimately the workers and all the employees of the organization also thinking about their own self, and they are behaving their own self. That means what the behavior is. Okay. So then they are following their own style and they are following their own behavior. Okay. So the working style is also is purely depending upon the person. Okay. So they are not thinking about the organization. So this is a bigger problem. Okay. So because the institutionalization is not always suggestible. Okay. Then so an understanding of what makes up an organization's culture and how it is created, sustained, and learned will enhance our ability to explain and predict the behavior of people at work. Okay. So then we are trying to understanding the behavior of the organization, culture, and also behavior, and why it is created, and how it is created, and how we are sustained, and also land will enhance our ability to explain and predict the behavior of people at work. Okay. So we are predicting and also explaining the behavior of the people at work. Suppose we are analyzing about the organization culture, then we are able to understand and also predict the culture of the and behavior of the people. Okay. So because the people's behavior and people's culture is reflected in the organization culture, then organization culture is described as the set of important understanding such as norms, values, attitudes, and beliefs shared by organizational members. Suppose every organization has their own culture. So at the time of formation of the organization, they are framing some norms and also values and also attitudes and beliefs. Okay. So what are, suppose every member or every employee in the organization, they must follow the organizational norms, the organizational values, and the organizational attitudes and organizational beliefs. Okay. So then all the organization members are must follow the organization culture, whether they are comfortable or not, whether they are happy or not, must follow the organization culture. Okay. So according to the recent understanding about organization culture, system of shared meaning among members is the essential core of organization culture. So based on the recent trends, organization culture is nothing but a system of shared meaning. So it is nothing but a shared system of a shared meaning among members. Okay. So it is essential core of organization culture. Then according to the Elliot Jacques, an organization culture is the customary or traditional ways of thinking and doing things which are shared to a greater or lesser extent by all members of the organization, which new members must learn and at least partially accept in order to be accepted into the service of the firm. Okay. So organizational culture is the customary or traditional ways of thinking and doing things. Okay. So which are shared to a greater or lesser extent by all members of the organization. Okay. So every organization has their own culture, and this is customary and also traditional ways of thinking and doing things. Okay. Which are shared to a greater or lesser extent by all the members in the organization. So everybody in the organization must follow the organization culture. Okay. So which new members must learn and at least partially accept in order to be accepted into the service of the firm. Suppose if anybody is newly joining in the organization, and they must know about the organization culture, at least they partially knowing the culture of the organization, then only they are able to work in the organization and they are able to fit in the organization. Okay, so then today I stopped over here. Thank you all.